All right, welcome to episode 7 of Nexus Now, a Nexus Gaming Series podcast bringing you news, stories, and personalities from the NGS community, as well as the greater Heroes of the Storm universe. I'm your host, Ghost Dunk, and with me are Jaxster and Murda. Jaxster, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm great. Not used to being on the pod. I'm usually the one behind the scenes. But I'm excited to give it a go.
All right, well, your voice is working correctly as your audio is coming through the speakers. Murda, how are you doing today?
See, we're just getting started. Don't make me laugh. But Jaxster, pleasure to have you on. Ghost, I'm doing just fine here on this Saturday morning during our recording. Very excited to finally get this episode recorded and out to our listeners.
Yeah, not to jump ahead, because I will in the table of contents, but stick around for the Khroen interview. We did it a while ago, and we're really excited about it. But I'm going to first address the elephant in the room. First, you'll notice that Professor Bobo is not with us. We'd all like to say goodbye to him. He was a fantastic co-host. I really enjoyed having him on the podcast, but he's chosen not to continue doing the podcast.
Yeah, we're definitely sad to not have him with us. He was one of our founding members. He was a big leader here, not only within this podcast, but also within Nexus Gaming Series. He'll be finishing out the season, helping out with the casting, and we wish him the best in whatever he wants to go on and do after this.
Yeah. No one can take Bobo's place in terms of his presence that he puts on the podcast. So I'm a little frightened and honored to be the one filling in for him right now.
Some big clown shoes to fill today, Jaxster.
Well, I hope he gets a kick out of some of this podcast. The other thing is, and there's three things. The second thing is, you'll notice you're probably not listening to this on iTunes, and for the time being, we're going to release this on the NGS YouTube channel until we can get a new RSS feed for the podcast. So thank you guys for following us all the way to the wilds of YouTube. So I'm not sure about the timeline on that. I don't think either of you can comment on that.
I mean, it's just I just say it's ironic because we originally started out as an RSS feed, and then I was so hesitant to put the stuff on the YouTube, and then oh, how the times have changed.
And the last thing is, obviously, NGS has been through some tumult in the recent times, and speaking as myself here, I just want to kind of address this. I don't know any more. I know a little bit more than most people listening here. There have been rumors. There's been a lot of stuff going around. I am not involved in any of it, and so from my perspective, I think the thing we want to get across is we want to keep NGS going. We have 180 teams signed up. And those 180 teams, none of them signed up because of, to be in a league run by certain people. They signed up to play Heroes of the Storm with other people and have fun doing it. So I think, what we want to see is NGS or whatever it's called in the future, whatever we do in the future, we want to see the North America amateur scene stick together and have people, have fun playing this game at every skill level. And I don't know if you guys have much to say about this, but
I'll jump in.
Yeah.
Just from the mod team, obviously I've been involved there, and the big message we want to share with anyone listening is that this league is not going anywhere. We are fully committed not only to finishing out Season 5 as strong as possible. You've seen a lot of stuff come up about the wildcard weekend. It's being put together by the mod team. We're going to host that. It's going to be amazing. The playoffs are right around the corner. All the teams are finishing up round 4 as we speak. And Season 5 is going to end very strong. We're going to take the off season as planned to reschedule, figure out where this is going to move, and we're going to bring you a Season 6 that's bigger and better than you've ever seen from anyone trying to run this league.
I mean, speaking, from my perspective, if I'm seeing a lot of outsiders that are saying oh, NGS is crumbling, NGS is, falling apart, people are looking to see what can be done. I mean, that it's, I really appreciate the enthusiasm for this, but can you guys share anything about plans to make sure that things come together?
Don't write the obituary before the body's in the ground. That'd be my recommendation. Look, admins change, leaders come, leaders go. Like what you said, it's about the community. It's not about who runs it. The running of stuff, all that has to deal with is the people on the back end, the moderators, the staff members, stuff like myself. We get marching orders from the top. So yeah, our marching orders change, our structuring changes. But I think the mod team has done a great job in making sure that the transition goes smoothly and that we're able to finish out the season and that teams don't feel so alienated by the new system. And I really commend them for that.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of which, I believe we're going to see a full change in leadership. It sounds like
it's all up in the air. We don't know yet. So I would say just hold off until the season is over, and then we can reanalyze, where people's positions are on things.
Okay.
We're really wanting to wait until the season ends and reevaluate who's going to be wanting to step into that leadership. I think our main goal right now that's been discussed, and I don't know how public this really should be, but we want to set up a board of people that are in charge rather than having a few admins at the top. We want to get involvement from more people, more voices, and have those voices represent the players that are actually participating in the league at the team level.
Yeah, because right now I'm trying, not really being part of this. I'm trying to act as a community surrogate. So I think the community would look at this and say, I want to make sure that the people who were involved in this are not going to be, the only people running the league in the future. I think a lot of people have that sentiment.
Well, we can guarantee that will be the outcome. Who's going to be involved with that is still up in the air. But we're definitely looking to bring those voices to the table and more voices so we can spread out the ownership and how the league is run from the top down. So this sort of situation we've seen will never happen again.
Yeah. So when you say you can guarantee that'll be the outcome, you're talking to the point of not just, 2 or 4 people running the league, but instead, a more open system, right?
It's likely going to be 7 or 9 people. Yeah.
Okay. Because I mean that's my personal view, is that what needs to happen in this league is teams need to show up, and there needs to be a set of rules and a set of volunteers to make the league not suck. And as long as it doesn't suck and it's fun, and all the little extras, I think, is what really makes NGS, the Discord, the communities, and the memes that pop up on it. That's the reason I do the podcast, is because I think it gives it a more legitimate feel. When you play in NGS, you want to feel like, it's a real league that matters. And I really want to give it up to the full community for making that the case. The mods, the writers, everyone else who puts in extra effort to make this feel like more than a bunch of people getting together and saying, hey, let's do team league or whatever,
A tremendous amount of support from everyone. I know the mod team that's been with us all season, a lot of them are new. They weren't part of NGS administration and staff last season, and they came in this time, and they've been doing such a fantastic job. People that have been around the community, like Weenus stepping up, being the moderator of Division E. He gets so much amazing feedback from the people who are in his division and how much he helps them out. And all of these people who have volunteered their time to put into helping run their divisions, they're all still here. They're all still supporting this league. Season 5 is just as strong as it was before everything happened, and it's going to finish just as strong. We're going to have an amazing playoffs, and we're very much looking forward to having Season 6 kick off in, I want to say January, might be closer to February, but it's going to be early 2019.
Yeah, so I think for the listening audience, just to kind of wrap this up in about, playoffs, are going to be fantastic. If you're listening to this, I mean, you're on the NGS YouTube, head on over to Twitch during the next, 2 or 3 weeks?
Yeah. Wildcard weekend is this weekend.
Yeah.
And then, or is next weekend, I should say. And then playoffs start immediately.
Yeah, and then how long do they last? Like
It's
2-3
gonna
weeks?
be-
2-3 weeks. 2-3 weeks, yeah.
So
Yeah.
stick around, like watch those casts. It's going to be a bunch of amazing games. We got a ton of really great casters that are still around, that are still doing this. I mean, really the only thing that has changed is just stuff with the website and organization. And I know it feels bad, but we have so many people that want to keep playing the game. So just keep an eye out. And if you're feeling cynical, give it a while. Come back in January, February, and see. There's a lot of people that are involved in this community. And I think that everybody's going to put something good together.
All right, so let's talk a bit about the table of contents we have for today. The first thing we're going to discuss is the state of the divisions. We'll talk a bit about NGS, who's up, who's down. Then we're going to move into the recent patch notes we've gotten. We have a few heroes that got reworked. We have a map that got reworked in Garden of Terror, so we'll talk about that. And then, of course, we want to bring you into the big, bad, beautiful interview we had with Khroen that we have been waiting to present to you guys for weeks here. I'm very excited to get your ears on that one.
Okay, moving on. What the season is unfolding like in the divisions. So I think we should just rip it. What teams are exciting you guys? I know I have a few of my own down in Division E and Division D that I've been covering in my articles. But what are some teams that have impressed you?
I'm looking at Division A. Obviously, Division A West. It's not so much that any one particular team is impressing me, although we scrim with a bunch of those guys, and they're all fantastic. In A West, I want to talk to the competitiveness of the division, because there is a front runner right now. Obviously, we've got Archetype, who has gone. The schedule so far is 8-1, but I think that's not counting stuff that hasn't been turned in. But I feel like other teams have been competing well against Archetype, and I think A West is a good division to watch, where basically anybody can make it, even including teams that are going to be going through the wild card weekend could make it to the top of that division. And I also want to shout out Happy Accidents in A East. This is just more of a personal thing for me. I know Park has been working his butt off to coach that team and to get them all on the same page, and to get them in a more structured environment, and just treat it like as try hard as he can. And it's been paying absolute dividends, and they are at the top of the division.
That's awesome to hear. Coaching support from people trying to see players get better. That's really what NGS is about, is the growth and having fun, and meeting new people and having a good time. And anytime you have a coach come in and show your team how to do it right, that just feels so good.
Agreed.
Right?
Yeah.
I know for the teams, at least in Regen, we have some coaches that have helped out there, and the growth we've seen with Regen Red, for example, has been tremendous this season. Last season they were pretty close to the bottom, and we brought in a couple of coaches this season that have really done a lot with them daily. We're not just talking about a couple of film review sessions. They're working with these guys every day, talking HOTS, talking strategy, and how much you can get out of it. I think it's amazing, and I'd love to see more teams utilize that sort of thing if they can get their hands on a coach that's willing to put the time in with them.
Yeah, and I would be remiss if I didn't shout out our very own Savo, who is the captain of Moto, which is where Moto Miracle gets its name from. But part of being that sister team is that Savo does out of the goodness of his heart, spends a ton of time actually going over reviews for us, and it actually speeds up our improvement quite a bit. Now, I'll admit that, starting at the beginning of the season with a new member, we didn't quite get the team gelled together quick enough to compete in Division A. But we're winning maps, and I think in our scrims we stay competitive with a lot of teams. It's just that little extra bit we weren't able to put through. But without that coaching, we would have been nowhere near the position we are now.
Yeah, I want to talk a bit about the Storm division right now, just for a quick moment as we're talking about these divisions, Jax.
Yeah.
And we got quite the top 6 that's forming heading into the playoffs, including Team Name Change, Abusement Park, FWC Esports, Trademark Gaming. We have DG Handicap and Run Boys currently in that top 6. But I really want to talk for just a moment about Abusement Park.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Right? Like, we
What
saw
a
what they
turnaround.
did. We saw what they did in the past last season playing as Lightly Salted, right? And now they're coming in as Abusement Park. And look at where they're sitting. They're at the top of this division right now. And I'm excited to see what they can do in the playoffs.
Yeah. Stepping up to a team like Team Name Change is pretty solid. FWC Esports Trademark Gaming, they all have a lot of structure around them. So Abusement Park hanging right up there at the top.
Any other teams in some of these divisions, Jax, that you got your eye on?
Yeah. So I was gonna go to my favorite, my home, my Div D, and so for both East and West, I'll look at East first. The biggest thing to notice is just like what Ghost said, how competitive these divisions are. And this isn't to toot our own horns about our matchmaking, but it really does put a smile on your face to see all teams like competitive. Like, they've dropped games, they've taken games off of of quote unquote better teams. Lubu and Wood League obviously are at the top right now, but within 5 points of, which is essentially 1 round's worth of play, of people down to 10th place, which is so impressive. And it's really great to see, because going into the playoffs, you get stuff like what happened last season with Wholesome Halfwits going, or Dat Tas, though, which both made it to the Div D Grand Finals, which was amazing to see, and it was so fun to watch and to write about as a writer myself. In Div D West, we have Off-Brand Cereal, which has completely dominated the region, going 9-0 so far. But past that, it really is, again, the case of just competitive. You see 4 wins, 4 draws, 2 losses, 4 wins, 4 draws, 1 loss. It's so close between all of these teams. And it'll be really excited to see if anybody can take a game off of Off-Brand Cereal in the playoffs and maybe show
that
us a few
team is
updates.
scary, Jax.
Yeah, they're pretty scary. Yeah,
I mean, as scary as they are, like, if you look at Div D East, Lubu looked unstoppable before, but they're not even they're tied at the top of the league there with the Wood League.
Yeah.
So that was Jimmy staying strong up there at number 3. So I think, Off-Brand Cereal, like, I mean, we saw last season Div A, Greek Economy looked absolutely untouchable, but I don't think they even got through to the finals.
Yeah. Oh no, they did. They got to the grand finals.
They got to the grand finals.
Yeah, but yeah, no, how the things can change from regular season to playoffs. It's really exciting, and that's why you can't just end a season with the records. You have to go to the playoffs.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Kind of still on that same note, I casted a game the other day in Division E, Married and Mediocre, up against the Princess People. And this is a matchup that Married and Mediocre had not had a loss on the season. And was their final game, their 12th match of the season. They hadn't lost a game, and they ended up going 0-2 against the Princess People. So you're never guaranteed wins here in NGS. Like, you could be the better team every time, but on any given day, someone's going to come in and just rip it right out from under you. So I love the guys that Married and Mediocre, but the Princess People handed it to them during that game.
I mean, they got a saying in sports. It's why you play the games,
Absolutely.
So, and while we're in Division E, I just want to give a quick shout out to North Stars. Those guys, they have me absolutely won over. They have so much heart, and I need to make sure I see if I can cast a North Stars game before the season ends out here. And I hope they try out their hand at Wildcard Weekend too.
Absolutely. Never out of it. Maybe you get that lucky win or two you need. And hey, Wildcard Weekend, it's best of 1 single elimination tournament. Like, anything
bring out
can
your cheese,
happen.
Bring out the cheese. Bring out the cheese. You can take games off of people just by Juice Pirates. I'm talking Zool main tank. I'm talking triple support. I'm talking triple tank. I'm talking
all the
specialists.
ABBA. No healer. Do it. Just do it.
Do it.
I mean, his solo support ABBA seems so common now. I don't think that's even cheese anymore. I think that's just
Happy
that's
Accidents
just
pulled it
that's
off
just a
against
good
us,
comp. Yeah. Oh yeah. Happy for sure. And shout out to Park who once more. Hey buddy. So I'm just looking at the outline here.
Yeah.
We gotta push on through the rest of this this stuff here. Playoffs. I think we did not talk about Division B.
We didn't talk about B or C.
Yeah.
I
Or
mean,
technically much from the heroic division, but
Oh yeah, heroic
again.
Oh yeah, I want to actually shout out Regen Black. Been dominating in the heroic division.
good segue there.
I want to commend all
I know,
of
right?
the regen teams. I think they're all doing a fantastic job, and this isn't because I'm hosting with Murda right now, and that he has a gun to my head. I want to say that I enjoy playing against all of them. Please send help.
No, I got to cast a really fun one just the other day in heroic division. Texas A&M versus Bad Manners, and Texas A&M coming in as the higher seed. They're currently number 2 in that division, give or take with the win percentage stuff.
Yeah, they are a fun team to watch. Yeah,
a lot of fun. Space Bacon and Coca-Cola and the whole crew. But they're up against my good friends on Bad Manners. Stixa, Kina, Dami, Joe Jack was in there, VCR player. And Bad Manners took a 2-0. It was a great match. And I think Bad Manners is a team to keep your eye on because they didn't have the quickest start this season, but they're really starting to gel right now. And I think they're certainly going to end up in one of those top 6 spots for Heroic Division and potentially make some waves in the playoffs.
Nice. Looking at Division B, Bellevue College. I did not realize they are on a dominating streak. They are 10-0 on this chart right here. Everyone else, though, looking very competitive in there. We got teams like Lurk Patrol, Roll One Esports make 7-up years towards the top of that league. But I'm very excited for this playoff. B, is it East? I always forget B East. No, it's B West. Looks like a very fun playoff series to watch.
And shout out Division B East. We all love them. Gilly Shark. Look at where they're sitting, right at the top.
Yeah.
Second place right now behind Heroes of the United States.
Yeah, my old pals.
That should be a pretty interesting playoff, setting up with Team Braindead as well. Reborn Knights Black, the blue team, and possibly Hand Banana.
Hand Banana.
Top 6.
Finally bringing it through. We know how dangerous Hand Banana can be in those playoffs, too.
Yeah, I mean, HOTUS at the top, too. I mean, they're sitting first place, but they're also one of those teams, if they make it to the playoffs, they're scary.
Yeah, absolutely.
So B should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and C East looking very competitive. We've got Square and 4 Triangles up at the top, but right behind them, give me the D Shield, Excel Esports, House of Ches, Minion Miners. It's a very strong top 5 right there. You've got NGS Standbys, Durotan's Couch hanging in there at number 7. I'm not sure how the games are going to shake up, but they could even make it in the top 6. They could make it through Wild Card Weekend. Regen Red knocking on the door there too.
Yeah, I know they're excited for the Wild Card Weekend. Recently got to play against In Bed by 10, and In Bed by 10 looked really solid. Took a 2-0 off of Regen Red here in round 4. Another shout out also, give me the D Shield. They've been playing fantastically all season long. They finally picked up a loss, and they now find themselves only behind a Square and 4 Triangles, which this is the juggernaut in Division C East. Hands down. They look very good.
All right.
You want to move on to the reworks and changes?
Yep.
Yeah, let's talk a bit about it. So we have a lot of cool stuff coming to Heroes of the Storm. If you have been over on the PTR, you know that Garden of Terror has been reworked. They've also included in 2 hero reworks in the form of Kerrigan and Brightwing. But let's first talk a bit about this Garden of Terror. So in the bit I've gotten to play, it feels a bit like Cursed Hollow mixed with Tomb of the Spider Queen. That's the closest for me.
Yeah, and that's the common criticism, is that it seems uncreative, which if that's the number one problem in your game or anything, then that's probably a pretty good sign. I would rather have an uncreative and a little bit boring map rather than a completely uncompetitive and complete nightmare like what old Garden Terror was. It was so fun and unfun to play on.
Well, see, I didn't even I didn't even think it was that uncreative because I didn't come up with this. I saw somebody posted this. If you're concerned about the new Garden of Terror being Cursed Hollow meets Tomb of the Spider Queen, why weren't you upset about the old Garden of Terror being Haunted Mines meets the Dragonshire? So
that's a pretty good point. And the part that I like about this is, you don't have to worry about having someone on your team who doesn't know how to control the Garden Terror just being a complete monkey, which I think is great for the game. 2 is there's a lot more balance and structure on what the objective is. Often on Garden of Terror, you'd see that teams would split, wouldn't really end up fighting or seeing each other during the objective night phase collecting the seeds. Now you're just going to be focused on one point and trying to get the channel, so you're going to see a lot more counterplay and objective-based team fighting, which is really good for the map.
Yeah, that's always what Blizzard likes to do is they've been moving more away from maps where objectives are split and you can just easily trade on it to maps where to objectives that it forces people into a choke. It forces them to fight. This is the main difference from Heroes to League, is that with League, it's essentially like 3 separate games, or 4 if you count the jungler, going on at once until like 15 minutes in, and then everybody joins up. But in Heroes, you have these objectives to force people into these small chokes to fight before they have ults, before they have abilities that can maybe one-shot teams. It gives teams chances early on in the game instead of just delaying and stalling. So I think it's a good change. I think it's good for the game. We'll see if HGC brings it into their pool, maybe over Alterac Pass. I'd probably like it a little bit more than Alterac Pass. I'm not a huge fan of the layout of that map, but we'll see.
So, Ghost, I have a quick question for you.
Okay.
On this map, different than Cursed Hollow, around the, like Cursed Hollow is the tribute. This, I'm not exactly sure what it's called, but whatever it is, the objective point, they've put the little plant defenders there, a la Alterac Pass.
Right.
How do you think this is going to play in when you have heroes like Abathur we've seen on Cursed Hollow sneaking a capture, or Lost Vikings trying to go over sneak a capture? How do you think this kind of changes that sort of dynamic of having that little sneaky, go grab it quick and run away sort of strategy?
I mean, you've kind of led to it there yourself. You can't just walk in as Abathur and capture it. You've got to kill those little guys. So either you have to, if you're Abathur, either you have to mine it up and kill them and use your locust to use her hat and knock them away. But you can't just walk in and cap it. And I think the same thing happened with Alterac Pass. And the same thing happened with Vikings. But what really made Vikings so good on Garden of Terror is that they could be everywhere. They could be soaking while the night phase lasted forever, and they could pilot the terror themselves. So I think the only thing that makes this a good Vikings map now is the size of it. And yeah, like you said, capturing is going to have to be done by the teams. Teams aren't going to be able to just push and have the Vikings capture it immediately. They're going to have to, kill those guys first. And so at the very least, it takes a while to go and capture that by yourself. So it's not really a viable strategy. Yeah. So I think you kind of answered your own question.
I just wanted to see if you agreed with me, I guess.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. It's a very, very tricky bit of rhetoric on your part.
Let's talk a bit about Kerrigan and Brightwing, Jax.
Oh my. What? There's a lot to talk about. So I think I'll preface this by saying.
Okay, touchdown.
Yeah. I'm just Brightwing, man. Every Brightwing main out there is so excited.
I know they are. I have a best friend.
Wait a minute. I am a Brightwing player. My favorite hero in the game. Well, I love playing Dahaka, but Brightwing's been like my base since day one before Dahaka was out.
Yeah. And there's legions of us. There are literally dozens of us out there that are Brightwing mains.
I'll take the unpopular opinion. Sorry.
As you do.
Yes. Which is, I don't think Brightwing will be very good. I think the meta has changed.
Whoa!
Yes, I think you get boo. I think the meta has changed from when Brightwing was good, which was at release, and around that time when she was good. It has changed to where we have hyper mobile characters that can dive her, She has even less mobility than before. She doesn't really have burst heals for people outside of her Z, which takes time. They removed cleanse. I know they put it on her D, but it's not quite the same. It's on a lot longer cooldown. I don't think the number one problem with Brightwing has always been she is not able to keep up in healing that matters. And so other healers do her job a lot better.
Let me answer your question. Blink, heal at level 10. Stop taking Emerald Wind. It's such a noob talent. I get it. You get to displace them. You can win capture points. But if you want to heal them, you want that mobility. You want the burst heal. It's Blink heal. Why are people not taking Blink heal? I just don't get it.
Oh, I think both of you are a little bit off base. So with Jax, I think as far as your point, Brightwing was always good because of her global. She could go off and soak, and she could come.
Well, they've killed her wave clear now. They've killed her wave clear.
Oh no, her wave clear is. Oh, how do you figure they killed it?
Well, they reduced her.
It's still gated behind Arcane Flare.
No, okay, but they reduced the damage of Arcane Flare. They reduced it from 260 to 180, so that's about a 30% decrease in damage.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, what did the inner circle? How much did the inner circle?
That's the inner damage. That's the inner damage.
They reduced her wave clear, but when she's off soaking, she's not really wave clearing. She's soaking XP.
Yeah. So the global is still strong. I admit, but if she's out,
but polymorph got a buff, which is one of her big team fighting tools. Is she polymorphs somebody? That extra 0.25 seconds can matter a lot, especially in a CC chain. And she wasn't. She really wasn't a save healer. Like, she can't save people. People can burst through her, but she has pixie dust. If you use pixie dust correctly, it's going to go through. Mm-hmm. And when you saw Brightwing in the meta, even after, like in HGC and such, when you saw Brightwing used, she didn't have any of those tools that you are referring to. I think the biggest nerf to her is that she can't Z in multiple times during the same fight, because her cooldown reduction on her Z is now tied to minions instead of team fighting. So that is definitely nerfed, but I think you've got a viable range of choices to do here. With her cleanse, it's on a longer cooldown. Her 7 makes it so that it's greatly reduced. The minimum amount of time you have to wait for a second cleanse is 18 seconds if you can continuously auto attack, which, to be fair, during the game you won't be able to, but the cooldown reduction on her cleanse is going to be great.
Does that make it a must pick talent? You have to take that talent
if you need cleanse. And the other thing about her cleanse is that it's a really weird cleanse in that it removes stuff, but it's also an unstoppable. So there's
it's like a pseudo unstoppable. I know what you're saying.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, and it's gonna be. I think she's gonna be a very high skill cap healer that it's gonna be able to do a lot, and possibly off lane as well. People have been talking about her just in the off lane and running double support again. Yeah, let's get to Kerrigan. Now, I'm not as big of a Kerrigan player, but I've watched people play her in the PTR, and boy, howdy, I hope they nerf her.
So for me, the biggest change is her Q. Ravage getting 2 charges now. Recently, we saw Tyrande get 2 Q stacks as well, 2 Q charges. And I think just like Tyrande, Kerrigan's going to benefit greatly from that, because now she can become a playmaker and hop from spot to spot and kind of be like a annoying little like bunny rabbit hopping around everywhere. And I really like the kit. She gets the baseline mana refund on a Ravage if it kills a target within 1.5 seconds. That's tremendous. And now it means that she can be used a lot more in wave clear. And potentially a solo laner.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, is that this might be the return of melee assassins in the solo lane, because she is so dominant with those shields.
I think that actually might even waste her. People are talking, you've got Zul tank. If Kerrigan makes it through to PTR, she will 100% be Kerrigan tank. Kerrigan tank is absolutely viable with how she is in the PTR.
Yeah, and I'll actually say I don't think it's the Q. I think it's the E. I think it's that damage after the E, the wave that she sends out. And it just, if you hit it on like 5 heroes, because you're gonna be in the middle of the team anyways, and it gives you all shielding, it's really good.
So I'll read that off for our listeners. Primal Grasp per E. The pull damage was reduced from 114 to 25, but now it has added functionality. 2.5 seconds after the ability goes off, Kerrigan will damage all nearby enemies for 180 damage. So you actually do get a buff in damage, even with the reduction from the 114 to 25. It ends up being over 200 damage that you're going to do from that one cast of E.
Yeah. I think that it's funny if she makes it into live patch, staying the way she is now and makes it to BlizzCon, we will not see her in BlizzCon because she will be first banned every game.
Over Genji. Which
Yeah.
is,
Oh,
is
for
the
sure.
thing to say.
The other really amazing thing is her summon Ultralisk
God.
at level 10 now has a built-in skill shot with a stun that she can aim.
I don't think it's gonna be good. It has a delay. It's hard to micro. I mean the stun is nice, but 0.5 seconds is only like a little bit longer than Johanna's micro stun on her W. Like, and the biggest thing is assimilation trait got buffed from 10% to 15%, which only helps Maelstrom. So if you're in the enemy team, Maelstroming their entire team, then you're getting even more shields. So like, it's like Ultralisk. It's like why? It's like why?
Yeah.
Oh
Well,
maybe
they also released a balance patch recently, which is live, so we have actual data off of it here. And boy, there's some pretty big changes there. I don't know if it was the consumed souls or if it was the nerfs, but Mephisto dropping 12.6 win percent points.
Are these the critic kitten notes
Yep.
that you have?
I'm
Okay,
getting
I'll
the
pull them
critic
up. I'll
kitten
put them in
notes.
the notes. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is, there's always a confidence interval. So basically, like, if somebody plays less games, the win rates mean less, but 12% is way out of bounds of the confidence range. Genji also dropping down 5 points. That drops him down to 40% win rate.
Swift
So,
Strike nerf.
Wow.
yeah, Swift Strike going down. And I think you still see him in HGC because he's a really good generalist hero.
Because
and
he can, you can call out any target on their enemy team and say, "I want that person dead," and Genji can kill them. Yeah, I think that's still a pretty good character.
Yeah. So, but his damage has been nerfed to the point where he has an incredibly low win rate in pubs, and Khroen,
oh my God,
finally making
she's
her
coming back.
return.
Please no.
Jumps
please.
12.9 percentage points all the way back up to 54% win rate there from just those buffs alone.
It was a glorious 1 month. We'll look back at this month and be like, remember when Khroen wasn't a character?
Yeah. Well, I mean, to hear Khroen players talk about it, though, she's lost her identity as that long-range artillery. I'm shooting you even though I'm not on the map anymore kind of character. So people are finding ways to win with her, and I think having her W visible went a long way to making her less annoying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And now she's getting her bronze talons buffed up again, and like that's the part for me that like I'm not the hugest fan of is like this little gnome girl and like her auto attacks
They're
hit
hitting
harder
for like
than some.
800.
Yeah, they hit harder than like some of the most insane heroes in the game.
I want a
and it's
new
like,
animation
really?
for it. That's what I want. I want it like an anime.
Yeah.
Like thunder coming out of Khroen, because those things, they hit for harder than a butcher, fully stacked.
Oh, if they hadn't called them bronze talons, she could have like shot like some dragon fire breath out of her mouth or something.
Like that. She's like Annie if you've played League of Legends with her like her ultimate critic.
timbers?
Oh my God, that's
that was actually really good.
That's gonna terrify me for the rest of the day. Yeah. I mean,
But speaking about skins,
That's the
have you
only
guys
thing
seen,
I know about League. Sorry.
Have you guys seen these new skins coming out? The
No,
new
I
Zarya skin, White Man's getting one.
yeah.
yeah, those are some balls.
Alex
I got that as my
Straza.
wallpaper right now.
Oh my God, what's the name of the event? I forget the name of the event. It's called like the.
I think it's called
Garden Attack.
Sexy Ladies.
Yeah, it's Sexy Ladies. They're all waifus. You can
not the name.
Oh,
actually,
that's it. It's the waifu event.
Yeah.
Right.
You
The
can
waifu.
chart on a graph how many skins a character gets by how thick they are. This is a fact. You can do it. Alex Straza gets a new skin. White Mane has only been out for like 2 months. Now has more skins than the Lost Vikings. I'm just saying.
Oh,
Vikings need to
I know.
get the thickness game up.
I remember now. It's called
Bobov's pretty thick though.
It's yeah, he is. It's called the Alex Daddy event.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
They're good skins. It's a good wallpaper. I'll put it in the link. Moving on. Do we want to talk on Team League? Because Team League did get changed.
yeah,
Okay. So
definitely.
for the people that are not aware, I'll read straight from the notes. Team League now supports all party sizes, including solo players. All solo players will need to choose which league to play from for the first time after the patch. And the developer comment, it's a little long, but I feel like it's important to read. Heroes of the Storm is primarily a team-based experience, and with this change, we're hoping to make it easier to have that experience without putting restrictions on party size. In our current systems, competitive solo players do not have many opportunities to find groups of players to play with in a ranked queue. To give these players more options for their competitive experience, we have removed all party size queue restrictions from Team League. Our hope is that this leads to a more robust Team League experience and that solo players find more regular groups to play with. Now, I have my own opinions on this. Most of them not great. I will be the negative Nancy for this episode. I'll let you guys go first on what you think about this change.
So, two things for me. One, I think this is actually going to hurt Hero League to an extent, not entirely. I think Hero League will always be the premier place for people to practice their own mechanics and stuff like that. I don't think they're going to migrate to Team League to play over there. The other thing is, I think this is going to go a long way for people like the players we see in Nexus Gaming Series that want to get some fun games in, maybe have a party of 4, and previously would be stuck going into unranked draft. I think this is a great compromise to give anyone the option to head into Team League whenever they so choose.
It's rough. It's a rough thing because I don't know that there's a solution. Blizzard seems to be just trying everything, just throwing everything at the wall and seeing what sticks. The problem is player base. Yeah. I don't think that we have the biggest player base. I don't know that this helps or hurts anything. It's a different approach to how we've been doing it. But what it's going to do is, one, it's going to reduce the population of unranked draft, which is already very low to begin with.
Yeah, I don't think you're pulling anybody from QM. Yeah. You're pulling people from unranked and Hero League.
It's probably like, I think it's like 15% or less is the number of people that play unranked draft. I don't think it's going to pull that many people from Hero League, but I also think that 4 stacks are going to have a lot tougher time queuing because, speaking personally, I know my Team League rank means a lot less to me than my Hero League rank. And if I'm playing solo, I think I would just go into Team League if I'm like, I want to screw around, but I don't want to, mess up my real rank, or if I'm not feeling up to like trying to win today, I'm feeling like trying to practice something. So we could see queues be impossible for the 4-man. It may improve Team League a little bit as far as population goes and move people over there so it's not just a barren wasteland. But I still think that the biggest problem with Team League, which is that teams at the top have nobody to play against.
So why play?
Yeah, exactly. I think a lot of teams, if they don't have scrims, the other option is Team League, and they don't want to do that because it's a stomp or they don't get a game. A lot of teams are forced to smurf. Yeah. And play there instead of having to wait through huge queue times because they just can't get a game otherwise, and they don't want a lot of the games that are on there, which is frankly where NGS comes in. Like, without NGS, I feel like a lot of people would have given up on the game as a competitive game.
Yeah, I agree. I have a lot of views about this, and I think they all kind of stem from the fact that Team League, to a large extent, and I hope you'll agree with me, is pretty much an illegitimate game mode. It really does not have any legitimacy to it. If you come on and say I'm a grandmaster in Team League, what that means is, to me, is just you have friends with way too much time on their hands. Like it because the matchmaker is so God. I can't curse. I'll bleep it all out. Don't worry about it. We're moving on. Because the player base is so low in Team League, it all kind of stems from that problem, like you said, Ghost, that people don't want to play it. Ergo, the matchmaker gets worse. Ergo, the rankings mean nothing. So I will see like Plat 5 people who are like Master Team League. Of course, it doesn't matter. And so this change, all I'm seeing that it does is, again, it lowers the Hero League and unranked player base. But it's an illegitimate game mode, so why would you want to play? I've talked to like my friends that are like, oh, we really want to do duo queue. It's like, but we don't duo queue in Team League for this reason, because it's such a bad experience. Talk about queue times, talk about matchmaker being bad, and the first pick, first serve drafting. It just feels horrible. And so like this really does feel like the last ditch attempt to like get people to play the premier game mode. Essentially, this is, Blizzard has said Team League is the way that the game is supposed to be played. And what you have is you have no restrictions on queuing up together. You can queue with a Bronze 5 and a Grandmaster 1. You can queue as that. They removed that restriction. They turned it from just a 5-man queue to a 2, 3, and 5-man queue, and now it's a 1 to 5-man queue. They still don't have any restrictions on if a 5-man queue can queue up against a 2 and a 3-man, because that's just going to increase queue times even more. It just seems like the reputation of it being such a bad experience has led to this dramatic decrease in population that is willing to give it a chance. And so I really don't think that this is going to do anything. And to their point where they mentioned there aren't a lot of opportunities to find groups of players to play with a ranked queue. Now this isn't a huge problem for I imagine us, because we have a lot of friends that play. But you know what would fix players can't find others to play with them? Maybe a clan system.
Maybe a clan system.
Maybe a looking for group application, not just going into solo queue Team League. What's the incentive for going into solo queue in Team League instead of Hero League? Like you're just a masochist. You want to feel the long queue times. Like I really don't understand this change.
Well, if I'm going into solo queue Team League, like I said, it's because I want to practice something in an environment where maybe I feel like people care about the game a little bit more, like my teammates give a
Team League, aka Cho'Gall Simulator 2018,
where I feel like going into an environment where my teammates give a hoot anymore. But yeah, no, it is Cho'Gall Simulator. It's we're gonna run this comp that like that's just going to destroy somebody who doesn't really know how to handle it, and it's hard to handle. I think it's actually good practice against cheese like that, even though it's not fun. You need to know how to handle it, and you need to know how to prepare for it as well. Like, because if you're looking to get the real experience, you need to know how to handle drafts of heroes that exist in the game. I mean, it is frustrating to deal with that, but I don't know. To Blizzard's credit, like, what does a clan system look like? Everyone's like, yeah, I want to be able to find my friends, but actually developing the user interface for that, the user experience, how do you find each other? How do you talk to each other? Thinking of something that works is not easy.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying it'd be easy, but I'm just saying like this seems really disingenuous when they say like, in our current system, competitive solo players don't have many opportunities to find groups of players to play with in a ranked queue. It's like, well, the problem is that you have essentially put a focus and a premium on QM games and just queuing up as random heroes that you like to play and not giving a about your teammates. And so, I mean, that's essentially what QM breeds. And so you have no incentive to find friends. Like, how many times have you played a QM game and like somebody has said like, oh, I really like your playstyle, like I'm gonna friend you afterwards? Like I've had maybe like 10, and I've played like 7,000 games.
I used to do that all the time actually when I first started.
Really?
Out.
Good for you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how I met all the people I play with.
Really?
Starting out was just reaching out to people after games that I thought were good players and inviting them over to the Discord server to chat, and eventually it turned into a team that made it eventually to participating in NGS.
Yeah. I mean, like, I've had the actually opposite experience. I invited people, and all those people are either gone off my friends list or I never play with them anymore. And the people that I hang out with are people that I met through Reddit or that I met through Chair League or that I met through NGS.
Well, I guess we have a little bit different experiences, but, I agree. A clan system would be tough to implement, but it's something that the game is 3 years old. Like, it's like voice chat in, like, people have been asking for it for that long. It's in your other games. Like, it's known that we want this. And so at a certain point, just saying like, oh, it's a lot of work doesn't really hold up. Progress is marching. Anyways, you can't just keep releasing waifu skins and claiming that you don't have any time.
Okay, well, see, let's get a little bit behind the veil of what happens in software development. So first, like, skin development is a completely
I know that was a low blow. I understand. I understand.
Yeah,
it's the art direction.
It's rough, but like as far as development goes, like it's not just it's hard, I can't do it, I can't write this code. It's I've got 5 managers and none of them can agree how we're going to implement this system. So we're going to have yet another series of meetings, and it's going to take another month before we even decide what to do. I am still of the theory that voice chat didn't come out for so long because they were trying to make the BattleNet voice a thing. And my thought is that there was some manager that was like, no, we're going to make BattleNet like a Discord. Everyone's going to use voice through there. They can just connect to there when they get into the games. And someone said, okay, fine. Before we put voice chat into Heroes of the Storm or wherever, we're going to try it your way. We're going to see if anyone uses the BattleNet voice. And then nobody did. And then we had voice chat. So like, I think there's so many more variables when you talk about actually developing software. And yeah. But I think we've kind of gotten off the tangent of actual Team League. I think you hit on the nail on the head when you talked about quick match. When you said, oh, the main mode of the game is quick match, and that's not what this video game is. Yes, you want it to be a fantasy, simulator. You want to be able to pretend that you're James Rayner, as boring as that is, or you want to be, Cho'Gall or whatever. But I think that quick match is not the way to go if you want to have fun doing it. Like, because quick match could either have a zillion algorithms, which seems to be the way that they're going, so that your games are actually fun and competitive. But there's still the chance that you just get 2 comps that one completely counters the other and you just lose. And everybody who comes into the game, whenever they have these events, Overwatch, when you have the League of Legends thing where Dyrus was playing the game, new people came. When you had Heroes 2.0, new people came and tried the game and they played quick match and it sucked. And they're like, this sucks. I'm losing. I don't know what's happening. No one knows how to play the real game. And, quick match doesn't help you do that. They need to replace it with blind pick, and they need to reinforce some real core fundamentals of the game. Like, can you imagine?
You're ready for hate mail, by the way. Ghost Stunk.
Oh,
so you said blind pick. You said blind pick. Everybody at him. Don't at me.
Bring it, please, because blind pick I think is the only way you can implement that quick match mode. And I think Jax, you had a great idea where you would go in.
Yeah, you can lock in a hero. You can say if I just want to play Murky or if I just want to lock in Murky and there are no checks and balances on it, you can do that, and it just gives like your other teammates like the ability to build around it or like try and convince you.
It works in Overwatch. I mean, I know like you can switch in the middle of the game, but I mean at low levels, who actually switches their hero in a game of Overwatch? Good players do, but bad players don't. And like you can queue up as Murky, and if you see your team and you go, I want to still play Murky, you hit that lock button and you're good. Like it's not too difficult, and the game needs to be good, and the game needs to be fun for new people if we're going to expand it, and people need to know how to play it. Like, can you imagine if the state of Dota 2 was you log in and half of your matches 3 people went mid? Like, if anyone plays Dota, that's absolutely insane.
Our guest for episode 7 is one of the most well-known competitors in HGC North America. He got a start in the hero scene back in 2015 with a handful of teams playing in the Go for Heroes tournaments before finding sponsorship with 2Arc's reformed roster. In 2016, Gale Force Esports picked him up during the Enter the Storm tournament and proceeded to win the ESL Summer Regional Championship. His HGC breakthrough came when GFE qualified for the inaugural season and went all the way to the first Western Clash. He then fought his way back through the open division with the current Heroes Hearth roster of Ishbu, BBJ, McIntyre, and Arthalon, pioneering a run through the HGC and cementing their status as current top dog in North America. On a personal note, I've been a fan and a subscriber since back in the day, so throw some much loves in chat. The current ranged raid boss for Heroes Hearth Esports and best Li Ming North America, Khalif, Khroen, Hashim. How you doing, my man?
That was quite the introduction. I am doing good.
We love
Thank
our
you very
intros.
much for having me.
We
gotta
try to
kill
make
it.
all our guests respond like that.
Whew, definitely. Wow, that was something. All right, I'm ready for it now.
I'm gonna give Fanboy first crack at the first question here.
All right. Well, come on. You guys are we're all fans.
Oh,
here.
I'm absolutely a fan. I'm just giving Murder some guff.
all of NGS very excited to have you on the show. But today we're going to take a little bit of a look at your history, your run through HGC, your climb back into HGC, and we're just going to talk some HOTS for a bit. So again, very excited to have you on. But we want to start it off. We want to talk a bit about your early days as an amateur first. We're talking 2015 days. We saw you hopping around to a lot of teams. You're on NV Gaming, Kairos, Bare Necessities, 2Arc Gaming, and then kind of ended up with Afro Doge before finding your way eventually on the GFE. But just tell us a bit about those early days and how you worked to crack yourself into the pro scene.
Yeah, sure. So, I started playing Heroes of the Storm for the 2015 Heroes of the Dorm tournament, where me and my college, I went to Assumption College, graduated like a year and a half ago, but back then we made it to the round of 16, I believe. And it was after that tournament where I sort of thought, should I really commit to trying to play Heroes of the Storm and try to get to a competitive and professional level? Because I knew that I wanted to go into esports. I played League of Legends for, like 5 years or so before I played HOTS at all. And I looked up to, those professional players, and I thought that, like, wow, it was so cool to be able to, do what they love to do and have like such a huge reach and just be able to make a living off of it. Like, I thought that was one of the coolest things in the world. So it's a goal that I had set for myself then. And it didn't really matter like in what game. And I'm familiar with like a whole bunch of Blizzard games, so playing Heroes of the Storm for the first time was super cool to see all those worlds combined. And if I had the opportunity to be able to eventually make it in the professional scene of a game like that, like that was just a dream. And thankfully I was able to realize it. But after the Heroes of the Dorm, with myself, a couple members from Assumption College, and 2 members from UConn. There were names back in the day. Dan Lee for 3. I believe he attended the Heroes Rising.
UConn, what?
Yep. And Monkey Lamps. Actually, I still think Monkey Lamps, if he actually played the game still and committed to it, he could have been one of the best supports in North America. I think he was a really good player back in the day. But no, we made the team, NV Gaming, which later renamed to Kairos, I believe. And that was just the initial trying to get into it. I didn't really know much about, what I was supposed to be doing or how the professional scene worked. I just kind of, watched tournaments and, had this, seemingly far off goal of I want to eventually, get to that top spot. But, I kept on playing, kept improving as much as I could until eventually I left that team because they kind of just played it for fun, but I had, aspirations of wanting to go further with it. So eventually I tried out for the, reformed 2Arc roster, where it was a weird tryout process. Actually, they took about 10-ish people and like had us like play kind of like pickup scrims against each other. So it's really interesting, and I was one of the top performers in those. So they decided to pick me up. My teammates were LZ Gamer, Sunshine, Trader, and Insomnia.
Really? LZ's still been around. Actually,
yeah.
LZ, shout out to LZ because I remember seeing in the open div earlier. They signed up as what? LZ Gamer is a dad.
Oh,
you guys
yeah.
I like just a shout out. I remember seeing that in one of the early cups this season. So
My memory is of Zoya saying it's worse than LZ Gamer being on a top 8 team in North America during the first Bloodlust.
Oh man.
But yeah, I actually want to take a step back and ask about like those early days. Like you were with a team that like, was having fun and you wanted to move on and do something, a little more competitive. I feel like a lot of listeners might be in that position right now. And I'm wondering like what you did, what steps did you take specifically to improve yourself and like step your game up? Was it just a matter of grinding? Did you focus on certain things?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's a combination of a lot of things. You have to put the time and the effort in. So grinding, it will always sort of, be a factor in that. you put in the time, put in the work, and eventually you'll improve. But also, I watched streams of, say, like some of the higher tier players, and tried to learn from there. I tried to ask some of the questions in chats about things that I wasn't sure about. Watch some of the tournaments to see things that I could pick up from there. But I think those are the major few things. Just grind, watch streamers, and watch tournaments.
And how do you and how were you like navigating the scene back in the day? Was it kind of cutthroat? Was it constant competition with the same group of players, or like did everybody sort of know that they're all building towards something? Did you guys see also like the end, the light at the end of the tunnel? Or, was there this idea that, hey, like this game is going to go somewhere, we can be pros?
I mean, I think in terms of seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, it was something that I didn't really see, but I knew that was there. And it wasn't until actually qualifying for my first LAN tournament that I actually, turned the corner and saw that light at the end of the tunnel. And that's when it really, really hit me. But before that, it was just some, dream that I was, aspiring and working towards. In terms of the amateur scene itself, it was something that I wasn't used to at all. I wouldn't really say it was, cutthroat, but it was just I had to grind hard and try to find opportunities, whether it be through, just people recognize me from my play, or reaching out, making connections, which, I'm not the best at like reaching out, making connections just in life in general. I'm a, typically shy person. So that was kind of harder for me to do. But, as I kept on, playing and trying out for new teams, I got more and more comfortable at that as time went on. So just, the exposure really helped in that regard, I suppose.
Do you think that Discord and a community like NGS could help with that?
I definitely think so. I think that it provides, an avenue for a lot of players who would potentially, be up and coming and want to aspire for, HGC one day. Like, this is, I think, a great start. And there wasn't really something like this back when I started playing. So I think that if someone, utilizes it effectively, then it definitely could be a great help.
So, early days, obviously, a little bit up and down, trying to figure out where things were going. But finally, in 2016, Gale Force Esports gives you the call up to the team. Tell us a bit about how that transition happened, a bit about kind of how the early days of GFE were going before you guys really started taking off.
Yeah, so the early days of GFE, I think leading up to it, it was 2016 here as the dorm. Tried for that again. Actually did worse than my first year. We made top 32 instead of 16. But after that, I was approached by the manager of Gale Force, saying that there was an opportunity there and they were interested in having me on, because it was at that point I'd like started to make a little bit of a name for myself when I was on 2ARC in my time there. Some of the amateur players and even some of the pro players. I actually remember one of the first pros who followed me on Twitter was iDream, and he was on Cloud9. I was like, whoa, that's super cool. Like iDream like knows who I am, is recognizing you from my play. Yes, but leading on to having that recognition for GFE, picking me up and trying me out, there was a couple of members on GFE at that time that weren't on the roster moving forward. Like there was Mysticles and Hexo, but eventually, through I guess a few weeks tryout process, we had Equinox briefly, but then Equinox left, but we still had Fury, and then Michael, Akaface, and Rafflecopter were all like at the dorms, because they were all Final Four, and so coming back, they were interested in joining a team as well, and so it's just a lot of random, communication, a lot of the GFE manager making that stuff kind of work out, and then coming back, and I think we had like 2 days to practice, maybe like 1 day before we ended up playing our first qualifier, where we actually almost took down Naventic. Like we kind of like pretty much like clicked at the beginning, and we ended up losing. It was 2-1. Naventic won in the series, but if we had beat them there, we actually would have just qualified in the first qualifier. but it wasn't until a week later that we took down Cloud9 to qualify for DreamHack Austin.
Yeah, DreamHack Austin, one of the events, obviously, where you started to build a reputation for yourself. We saw the Leeming starting to pop up, as we talked about a bit earlier. But maybe tell us a bit, how was that first experience at LAN, at like a big event, and kind of the spotlight on you for really the first time in your career?
Yeah, so I mean, I think leading up to it, sort of relates back to that seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. That thing that I very much wanted to be able to attain. When I first qualified for DreamHack Austin, I like cried, and I was super emotional because of that. It was something that was just such a huge step. It really made everything seem like possible, like real, and I'd actually managed to go past that barrier that was just above me that I couldn't quite reach for so long. And it made me realize that all my effort and work over the past like year before that, maybe a little bit more, was worth it. You grind hard, put in the effort. It doesn't guarantee anything, but it puts you in a good spot too, and you very much can put yourself in a position like that from all the hard work. So going into the event, I was super excited. Getting flown out there, just the whole environment of LAN tournament is something that I had never experienced before that. And competing there, sitting on stage. Now I was a little nervous for a couple of my first matches because it was just brand new to me. But after a little bit, it just kind of once I sat down on stage, it's just a screen in front of me. It's just what I was very much used to, and it's kind of zoned into the game. And I actually remember like a feeling when I was on that stage DreamHack. I felt like this is what I was meant to do. Like this is like what I want my life to be. Like, yes.
Can you remember a moment that was particularly stressful for you, and like do you ascribe that to any like particular situation that maybe on the team like was a rough environment or anything like that?
Yeah, I think how do I say this? On the iteration of Guild Force right before I was removed from the roster, there was a lot of stress on that team and on that environment. Like if we weren't winning, it was like big yikes. Like it's very different from Heroes Hearth now. Like if we lose, it's not the end of the world, but it felt like on the Guild Force that time, if we lost, it was the end of the world, and that definitely did not help feel comfortable for playing the best that I could or best that the team could, and that was definitely something that hurt us there.
Do you think that's just because of the the youthfulness of that roster? Do you think you guys just put the pressure on yourselves based on previous results?
I think it was due to some of the expectations of some of the members on the roster, as well as those expectations making other people, I don't know if I want to say uncomfortable, but making other people not performing as well as I think they could have, because those expectations were like eating at them and distracting them.
I mean, it's a big,
I think myself
change.
Included.
Yeah. I mean, you guys are, you've got to start to, think of yourselves as professionals and make it a career. And I mean, that's certainly a big part of it. And the other side of that is how do you manage with adjusting your schedule to all of these different circumstances? How do you plot your week out? Is it month to month? It certainly don't seem like you're just sort of flying by the seat of your pants.
Yeah. I don't know. I definitely don't, manage my time as well as I could. I'm trying to, work on it, and I'm getting better slowly as time goes on. But there was a time a couple years ago, I was still in school. I had to deal with, taking 5-6 classes. I was streaming then, scrimming, playing in tournaments. I had a relationship back then, trying to manage that, as well as doing homework, taking care of myself, eating. Like it was a lot to be able to handle. And so some advice for people is try to not put too much on your plate, be able to balance what it is that you do have, because it definitely wore on me back then. But now that I'm out of school and not in a relationship, and I have the time and mental energy to focus, I I first prioritize competitive. That is number one on my list. So anything to help me perform better or get better at competitive, like that is my number one priority. So scrims, something that we try to do on Heroes Hearth is everyone wake up not just right before a scrim start, but wake up, maybe play some Hero League, get warmed up so you can go into it being ready to go. Because the more you get out of practice, the more that translates to your performance in the HGC, et cetera, et cetera. Like you got to put in a lot of work. So it's a huge time dedication. So, I generally, I guess everyday schedule, I'll get up, try to play, 1 or 2 games of Hero League, go into scrims for 3 hours, have an hour break for, food, chill out a little bit, then have another 3 hours of scrims. And then I stream for, it varies, like on lower ends, I do like 2 hours streaming, but try to get like 3 or 4 hours of streaming in. And then I just kind of take my nights to chill out, play some games with friends. Something that I've been doing over the past year is playing Dungeons and Dragons with, Tomster, Faye, Casanova, maybe Buzz. So something that we've been doing. And I think that helps like balance a lot, like not just being all heroes, like having some, off time to be able to focus on something else and have a lot of fun with that. Definitely, helps my mindset. So yeah, just having other hobbies outside of heroes too.
So we've obviously seen you dominate on heroes like Gleaming. We've seen you play some Tracer, where it was kind of like he's a one-trick Gleaming, now he's a two-trick with Tracer involved. Most recently,
we're now bored with the Hanzo, by the way.
Well, yeah. Now, obviously, everyone knows you as being one of the most dominant Hanzos in North America. How do you get so hyper-focused on becoming so mechanically sound on these heroes? What's really the secret sauce that goes into that?
That is a good question. I like heroes that are able to make plays, and I think that Leeming, Tracer, and Hanzo all fit into those categories. And I grind games as those heroes, trying to get really good at them. And if they're heroes I'm really good at, then we take it into scrims as a team and find things that work with them. And if people don't deny it, say like they ban it or take it away in draft, like if I get on that hero, it's something that I've put in a lot of work on and get really comfortable with.
What's your process look like in getting comfortable on those heroes?
It could just be a lot of it's just spamming games. Say for Hanzo, recently I before midseason brawl, I actually got a little tired of playing Hanzo because I thought at that time that I was one of the best Hanzo players, and probably best in North America. But I didn't quite see, players that were that much better at Hanzo. So I was like, I guess I don't have to like dedicate that much more time to the hero because I don't think I can actually get that much better. Which I completely now disagree with. Kind of don't thinking back, and I don't know why I thought that, because I looked at players like Rich and SCSC at midseason brawl, and they're destroying everybody in Hanzo, and I'm like, wow, I suck at this hero. Like I came back from midseason brawl and played like 2 weeks of nothing but Hanzo and Hero League, just trying to get better at the hero. But it's a lot of looking at better players. And just grinding games, trying to improve mechanically, testing my limits in Hero League. I'll like run it down in Hero League sometimes because I'm testing the limits of my hero, but I translated that to knowing my limits for competitive and being able to pull off, big plays like that.
So Gale Force Esports, kind of the dream ended, or what it seemed to have ended for you. Tell us a bit about the weeks and months following the way everything ended with GFE, and kind of bring it to light for the viewers who haven't had the kind of backstage pass of those of us who follow you on stream and through other social media. But give us kind of a look into what it was like after you weren't on that team anymore. Did you feel like your dream was falling apart, and how did you find your way back to where you are now, which is really one of the most inspirational stories that HOTS has really had to date?
Yeah, so Gale Force Esports was really all I had ever known in terms of professional, play and esports in general. I was on that team for about 1 year and 3 months before I was removed. And so finally being removed from that roster, I take a step back. I try to always not dwell on things, just as a personal mindset goal of mine. I try to see the good in it, try to figure out how I can most quickly bounce back, not let it eat away at me, just try to get back into the swing of things as fast as I could. Obviously it sucks to be kicked from a team. And there's the whole like Khroen was the problem meme, which maybe wasn't a meme when it started up. I don't really know. But no, I very much knew that I wanted to keep playing. I had thought, I like to consider myself an optimistic realist, or I want to consider all my possibilities. So I did a few things. I reached out to people in esports or like gaming industries, say like for example Blizzard, and basically asked what the possibility would be like to pursue a career, say at Blizzard. So I had that to explore as a possibility, and I was received with like pretty well for that. But it was just something that I realized that I wanted to maybe do in the future. I wasn't quite done with esports in general. But before that, I also considered taking either a break or moving to full-time streaming. But again, eventually I'd settled on like, no, I'm not satisfied with like the impact that I've made, what I've done. I want to be able to do more. If any of you are familiar with the musical Hamilton, I relate that a lot of the time, because I think the song Satisfied really, I embody that, because I'm never satisfied. I very much always want to be achieving more, pursuing more. I could be number one team in North America, but why can I be number one in the world? Even if I ever reach number one in the world, it's like, how long can I hold this? How long can I could I be dominant in that? I always want to be able to do more. But after that, after I made the decision pretty quickly on that I wanted to remain playing competitively, I reached out to every single HGC team.
Wow.
Got tryouts for 2 of them and didn't make either of them.
Really? I mean, that sounds a lot like what was it, like 2 months ago? Sonic LaBeast was going through the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We were sitting here in the Discord and every avenue we all chat about the game, and we're like, yeah, this guy's gonna get picked up, right? Yeah. And it didn't happen. And I think he fired off a tweet that says, I'm out. And now I mean, they're right in the in the depths of the Open EU tournament.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I played against Sonic when he subbed in for Fnatic, and I think that while he was, a new player and kind of undisciplined, like he's very strong mechanically, and I think that he did get tryouts for teams, but teams didn't decide to pick him up either. I'm not, I've heard rumors of why, but I'm not really sure.
Do you think it's a question of time? Honestly, like, do you think maybe sometimes things happen a little bit too fast for people, and they maybe even need a little bit of that check?
In terms of what?
I don't want to say like a bruised ego, but sometimes you have to know how you can respond to a setback.
Yeah.
And I think Sonic right now, being on ePunk's Black, looks like he's in a great position.
Definitely.
I mean, my question for you, like, there's a lot of people in NGS, like, people feel bad on certain teams at even at the lowest level of NGS, and even at the top level, there are people in NGS and in the HGC Open. The HGC Open is going to end soon, and people are going to leave teams, and teams are going to break up. Like, what's your advice for those people on how to go forward? To just keep trying all the avenues like you did?
I think first and foremost, try not to be bitter and burn bridges, because not only does that not look good on you, but it puts you in a bad mental state, in my opinion, and not one that's focused on self-improvement. And if you don't have self-improvement, you're not going to get better, and you're not going to find those opportunities, because it all links back together, in my opinion. Just try to recognize what it is that you want to do and achieve, and say you don't make it, if your team disbands, if you're removed from your team, reach out to people. Reaching out is something that I wish I, maybe had done more of just over the course of my whole life, not even just in Heroes, but reaching out, making connections is huge. And whether you might be like nervous or shy to do so, that after that first, reaching out, that first little bit of communication, it gets a lot easier after that, from my experiences. So I guess that would be my main piece of advice. Just keep working for it. Try not to hold grudges, remain bitter, and reach out.
So you made it through the open division, as we know, a nail biter in the playoffs, mind you, with the Heroes Hearth roster. Tell us a bit about how the roster was formed. Obviously, we know you had some prior relationships with Arthalon, McIntyre, but how'd you guys go about bringing on BBJ and Ishbu, and how did the whole roster kind of finally form into what we see now?
Yeah, actually, I guess it's funny talking about, reaching out, because BBJ was very active in reaching out to myself and McIntyre about wanting to, start something if we didn't make it on HEC teams. And then we didn't. And so BBJ was, one of the main people who reached out trying to get something happening. And I had recognized BBJ because when the SEL, the like in-house pro league was going on, and for a time it had some of the top open players, and BBJ and Ishbu were on a top open team. But I remember BBJ's Lucio actually was very, very strong. I was like, damn, this guy's really good at Lucio. Like, I think he's a really good player. So I was very interested from that to play on a team with him. Me and McIntyre were talking a lot around then because we had tried out on one of the HEC teams when neither of us made it. But we were talking if we wanted to keep going, and Mac was considering maybe not continuing, but eventually decided that he wanted to. Arthalon was looking to come back into Heroes, and so he reached out, and I guess BBJ was one of the more like active ones, and pulling everyone together. Ishbu came with BBJ, and it kind of just fell in place from there. We started playing. We tried out maybe like one or two other people briefly, but we knew that it was pretty much that roster that we wanted to go forward with. It felt pretty good at the beginning.
You mentioned also losing. There was a difference between Heroes Hearth losing and other teams where it felt like the worst thing in the world to lose a game. What's your advice on like how to lose games? Because I think that's a big problem for a lot of NGS players.
Yeah, I mean, you are going to lose. There will be pretty much nobody, unless you're like the 0.00001% of players that just randomly come up and just don't lose. So you can approach losses in a few different ways. A couple are, you can be upset about it and be like, man, my team could have played better. You can look at it and say, man, I'm upset. I could have played better. And kind of just like sulk in the fact that you didn't play better, or like you think your team didn't play better. Or, which I think is the route to go, this next one is, you can look at it and be like, okay, we lost. What can we do to get better? What can I provide to my team for trying to to improve, and just be not trying to look at it as being upset or being negative, and be like, I've seen players be like, oh, I just suck, and it's like, well, you might.
I mean, we see that too. We see that too. Like, there's like a shout out to all the new teams. Like, guys, like sometimes you need to persevere a little bit. Like, maybe it's just not the first season. Like,
yeah, pretty much. Some players, like even players who have been before HEC, players who have been at regional tournaments. Like one of them, I'm not going to name their names, but a player that I was pretty close to was trying to get back into the HGC, or trying to get into the HGC, I suppose, after like being a top competitive player. Is just a lot of time he loses, and he's just like, damn, I suck. And it's just like, I don't understand. Like, just like, sure, maybe like you made a bad play, but that shouldn't be your main focus. It should be like, what can you do to improve, get better, not just like super get down on yourself, because that's very unhealthy mentally. And it's like not going to be conducive to growth as a player or as a teammate or anything.
So give us a look into the future. Finishing out 2018, obviously BlizzCon on the horizon, a lot of fans and I'm sure personal expectations that you guys have for yourselves to qualify for BlizzCon. But what's the outlook right now? How's Heroes Hearth feeling about making the event? And if so, what's the ultimate goal for the end of the season here?
Yeah, sure. So we started off the season, very strong. Part one, we were 7-0 to put ourselves in, a very good position to be able to be the number one seed for North America to BlizzCon. Where even if we have to play Tempo Storm on West Coast servers, that even they wouldn't be able to
Oh,
catch up to
God.
us in standings. No, I mean that's like a little bit of a joke, but a little bit not of a joke. The server thing, like it feels bad to for me to play at 100 ping on competitive matches when they're playing at 8 ping, but oh well, like we almost won that series. It's not the end of the world. Try not to let that discourage or think too much into it. But I think that moving forward, as long as we keep doing what we're doing and researching teams going into the matches, just kind of show up and ready to play, I think that we're looking to make BlizzCon. And at that, over the course of the rest of the season, we're definitely going to be taking it very seriously, because this is the kind of crunch time. We've been playing all year with the goal of making it to BlizzCon. It's very realistic. We can't get too stressful of a situation. We can't let the pressure tear us down like it say did at Western Clash. But I actually think that the Western Clash experience was very good recently. The fact that we had expectations and didn't meet them, because now we know how to handle that. I think having the experience of that pressure is going to help us move forward to qualifying for BlizzCon, and if we get there, then competing at BlizzCon. It's been the goal, and I think we're in a good spot to make it there.
I mean, it's people look at NA and they say, oh well, NA is definitely a lower tier than EU and Korea, and you guys are your only experience before you go to BlizzCon is going to be playing other North American teams. How do you guys get yourself ready for international competition?
I think that getting ready for international competition, one of the big things is being confident in what it is that you play, because I mentioned earlier, like every team has their strengths and their weaknesses. Say you go and you get like dumpstered on in scrims to some Korean draft or European draft. Doesn't mean you should abandon everything and try to just copy their draft because it's beating yours, but be confident in what it is that you're playing, and maybe we can make slight adjustments. Say like this pick just really doesn't work into something that they run, but always be confident in the style that you play. Like here at Hearth, we're number one in North America for a reason. The things that we run are strong. It's just how we can adapt to being able to do well against these stronger international teams. And it kind of sucks because the only time that we get to play those teams is at these events, so it's very, very hard to learn and improve to get to these level, or let alone even surpassing these top European or Korean teams, if you literally only have like 4, maybe 5 times of playing them per year. It's really hard thing to be able to do, but it's just have to get the most out of every single event that you can leading up to these major ones.
And do you ever give thought about what life for yourself would be like after HOTS, after maybe giving up streaming on Twitch? Thoughts on future stuff down the road for your life?
I mean, I think for a very long time, I do want to be involved in gaming esports, because it is very much a passion of mine. Like, I wouldn't be satisfied doing something that's not in gaming. I think maybe there'd be like 1 or 2 very specific things, but I'm pretty confident that I'm going to be looking for something like that moving forward to the future. I've thought about what's going to happen after I retire. The traditional lifespan of a pro player competing isn't that long compared to other things. Generally people are pro players for sometimes just like a year or 2, maybe like 5 years, some players more than that, but it's kind of on the more rarer end. So I mentioned earlier, like reaching out to Blizzard, maybe perhaps moving out to California, doing something at Blizzard, or being a streamer for a time, but even that wouldn't last for a long time, because I think that that's only sustainable for X amount of time. I could be wrong, but Twitch is like a relatively new thing, so who knows where it'll be in like 10-20 years.
September's coming up.
If you guys don't follow Khroen already on Twitch,
Yeah.
twitch.tv/Khroen, Khroen, make sure you give this guy a follow, throw a sub, throw the much loves out there, guys.
Yeah, I mean, like you're a very prolific streamer. You do a lot of streaming, and I think you're probably one of the better known personalities in Heroes of the Storm. Like, do you give a lot of thought to your, personal branding? Do you give a lot of thought to like how you want your stream to run? Or is it just, is it just all you, baby?
Yeah, I mean, I do. I recognize the fact that I'm, one of the more, well-known players in Heroes of the Storm, or North American Heroes of the Storm, at least. And, I could be doing more to build my brand, really, but I do very much, want to focus on just like being as good of a player as I can. So a lot of my time and effort is dedicated to that. But I do try to, stream consistently. I do try to, be kind of active on Twitter, at least. Like, I'm not always most active on Twitter, but, I have a decent following in terms of Heroes of the Storm, players. So that's something that I always keep in mind, because it's going to help me after I transition out of being a pro player, whatever it is. So having that, that following, that brand to, fall back on, maybe make something out of, is something that I think about. I'm not quite sure where it's going to lead me. I'm kind of like a go with the flow kind of person in general in life.
Wait, do you guys hear that noise? You hear it in the background?
No, I don't.
It's the lightning round.
Yeah, storm is coming.
I took my cans off of it. Well played. I took them right off.
All right, Khroen, we have a recurring segment on the podcast where we hit you with a few quick questions. We just look for short answers, nothing serious. It's a lot of fun. So we have a few questions lined up here for you, and hopefully you have a good time with it.
Cool. All right. Not ready, but let's do it.
Nice.
Perfect.
Neither are we.
All right, so we know you're the best Li Ming North America, probably Hanzo as well. We'll throw that out there. Who's the best? And I'm gonna list out a few heroes here for you. Kale Thos, North America.
Heartfelt.
Nice.
How about Chromie?
Faye.
Probius?
Glogan?
Tracer.
This is a competitive
Lutano?
category. Ooh, I like that.
Lutano, okay.
Lutano's been doing things this season. Shout out.
And last one, the Blade Master, Samuro.
A Goku.
Ooh. So we
I wanted it this
Or
wanted it
Nasmus.
this
Or
weekend.
Nasmus. Ooh, Goku or Nasmus. One of the two. They're both very good.
Right on.
So who are 3 of your favorite hot streamers right now?
Favorite hot streamers. Ooh. Obviously Heroes Hearth streamers, McIntyre, BBJ, Ishbu. All very informative stream.
Thank you,
Check 'em
Corporate
out.
Drone.
And then here's one. Who's your favorite guilty pleasure hero to play?
You see, I play meta heroes, and that's what I have fun with. I have fun when I'm winning and playing meta heroes. Ooh, do I have one? Oh no, guilty pleasure hero. I feel like bad if I don't have one.
So is your guilty pleasure hero that you don't have a guilty pleasure?
It might be. Okay. Actually, guilty pleasure hero is Cassia. I think I would say Cassia.
All right.
Wait, Valkyrie or Ball Lightning though?
Valkyrie, even though I get really upset when it bugs and doesn't pull the target.
Well,
And
that was in the patch notes. That was in there.
was it in this patch notes from today?
We'll see. Yeah, we'll do some testing.
We can do it.
AKA
Let's-
watch a
I
lot of-
heard it was in one from a couple patches ago, but it happened to me in HCC the other day, and I was feels bad, man. But
I got a sub lightning question then. Do you have a guilty pleasure talent?
Li Ming. Okay, everything auto attack, like just pure damage. Li Ming, say like charge blast, calamity or
Glass
secret,
cannon.
depending on the time. Disintegrate,
Yes.
glass cannon for sure. Mirror ball, every single damage talent on Li Ming. Power hungry level 1.
Keep an eye out for Tal Rosh's elements, by the way, kids.
Yeah.
Because we were talking before this about the change to like spell power and how it's activated. You can get a little bit more out of your Li Ming now
That
if
is
you hit that
true.
try mode. Yes, Tal Rosh's. I don't know exactly. Like somebody was crunching the numbers. I think
What you do is because spell power is now calculated on hit instead of at cast, you throw out your orb and then you use another spell, and all of a sudden your orb's got more power.
Oh,
Right,
he's
and-
busted now.
It's something weird. Or like I saw someone throw out the combo starts with a teleport. Like just rip a calamity just to get like the 5% to start stacking. Again, keep an eye out. Let's get some more. I'm tired of Genji aces. We want to throw it back old school, and we want to go back to like the Li Ming, the original OG resets, please.
I'd be down for that.
So final question here, and now it's your opportunity to throw some shade at one of your teammates. Who's the biggest feeder on Heroes Hearth Esports?
Biggest feeder on Heroes Hearth? Oh man. McIntyre does complain about getting 2v1'd in the solo lane a lot. But I think he's gotten pretty good at this point of dealing with it. So it's between BBJ or McIntyre. One of the two.
Awesome. We'll keep it diplomatic so you don't get in trouble. All right. Well, hey, Khroen, we really, really appreciate you stopping on the podcast. Obviously, I've been looking forward. I know Ghost Dunk, Bobo also, and the rest of NGS, when they finally get their ears on this podcast, they will be thrilled to have heard it. Before we let you go, though, let the listeners know where they can find you on social media and kind of, signing off words that you have to say.
Yeah, sure. I mean, first and foremost, thank you for having me. I'm glad to be able to, be here and perhaps, just provide insight to people who want to, pursue career of competitive play, or even if you're just curious on how the process works. I think this is a great avenue for people to get into it. So any way that I'm able to help, really means a lot. So thank you for providing that platform. You can find me on twitter.com/Khroen, Khroen. Same thing for twitch.tv/Khroen, heroeshearth.com/Khroen. Shouts to Heroes Hearth. Wonderful, wonderful sponsor. You can find a whole bunch of things on there, from talents to guides, even hero concepts of new heroes. I think those are really, really cool to try. To come up with a neat idea, or even just read if you're bored or anything. Also, there's the shop where you can find a whole bunch of Heroes Hearth merch. Everything Heroes Hearth related you can find there. I have a Discord where you can ask me questions personally. Just discord.gg/Khroen. And I posted all of those things when I go live and stream. I try to stream about 5 or 6 days a week in the around 8 p.m. Eastern time. You can find me there usually. I think that's about it. Thank you.
Check out that merch store. I know Bobo and I have. I rock that Khroen jersey on occasion.
Fact, you gotta have swag, baby. Gotta look good.
I'm not.
My girlfriend stole my much love T-shirt. I'm so pissed.
Oh no.
That's
She
it.
stole
Like,
She's like, I like it too
Yeah,
much.
she likes it. Yeah, there you go. I mean, you gotta buy another one now for yourself, so you both can have one.
Exactly.
Oh Jesus!
Wear it on Valentine's Day.
What a beautiful.
All right, Khroen, we really appreciate it once again, and we wish you best of luck moving through the field, heading towards BlizzCon 2018. NGS is behind you and Heroes Hearth Esports, and best of luck, man.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much, Khroen, for that fantastic interview. And thank you once again to Professor Bobo for being our co-host through all these episodes and for asking Khroen some awesome questions. We wish you the best of luck, buddy. Hey, everybody, if you want to support the podcast and NGS in general, you can become a patron at patreon.com/Nexus Gaming Series. Where can everybody reach you guys? Let's start with Murda.
You guys know me as Murda, twitch.tv/MurdaRG, casting all of the finest Nexus Gaming Series matches, including these playoffs that are coming up, so make sure you tune in there. Find me on Twitter, @MurdaRG. I would love to continue this conversation off the podcast.
Yeah, Jax, where can we find you at?
I just got a Twitter, so I'm gonna I know, right? I'm gonna enter the 21st century, so twitter.com/Jaxster37.
No wonder you're so upset about them tweeting it. You didn't even have a Twitter.
Yeah, well, no, I don't stream, so I'm sorry about that.
That's
so
cool.
Just if you want to hear rants about me shouting into the ether about changes that nobody cares about, then follow me on Twitter. Maybe it'll be nice.
Sounds fantastic. And you guys can reach me at twitch.tv/GhostDunk, where I will be casting NGS for the rest of the season and into the playoffs. I will most likely be doing Wild Card Weekend as well. So make sure to check me out there. Check out my Twitter at twitter.com/illuminatedwax. And that'll do it here for pod number 7. Hope everybody enjoyed it, and hope everybody is on board with going forward in the future and just making sure we get a lot of games of Heroes of the Storm in against each other. And I hope everybody sticks around all the way through February and through the playoffs. Thank you guys so much for listening. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention my boy Smithel. Baby, come back. Any kind of fool could see there was something in everything about you.
It's a daily struggle not to cut that out of the podcast when I'm editing.
All right. Jax keeps talking.
Jax is a talker.
Don't worry, I'm the editor, so it's like if I sound stupid, I'll just cut out everything stupid that I say.